Welcome back. In this lecture, we are going to be talking about taxes. Not the most exciting subject in the world, but a very important one. And first, as a disclaimer, I am not an accountant and you shouldn't be taking legal advice from me. With that said, the advice given here is really going to differentiate depending on where you live, but we're going to keep it super simple and we're going to give out some best practices here that you really need to start setting right from the beginning. So first of all, let's look at taxes. What will you be paying? Well, first of all, you are going to be paying an income tax, and that income tax is going to be on your profits. And we're talking about the profits on your business. So whenever you're selling products with Shopify, you are going to need to pay taxes on those profits. Okay, so let's say that you buy a product for $5 from your supplier and then you sell it for $20. Well, then you have a profit on $15. Those $15 you're gonna need to pay taxes on. And those taxes are going to go to your government. So of course, depending on which country you live in and the government you have, that's gonna decide the taxes. But the income tax is going to be first and foremost on the business. Then when you want to withdraw money from your business, you're gonna have to pay some taxes on those profits as well. And this is where it gets more complicated depending on where you live. If you're gonna withdraw dividends, some countries are gonna have no taxes on the dividends. And some countries are going to have a limit on how many dividends you can withdraw. So you are really going to want to go through all of that with an accountant. But this is only a problem when you start making money. And once you start making money, a lot of your problems, other problems in life are going to start disappearing by itself. So this is just how things work. If you're not making money, don't stress about this. This is something that you can actually pay to get advice on and help someone else solve for you when you're making money. So use that money you're making to solve these tax problems later. The next thing we need to talk about are sales tax. Now, sales tax is the tax on the products itself. So whenever you're selling a product, you need to pay something called a sales tax on those goods and services. And what those sales taxes are going to be are going to depend on your physical presence, okay? So if you are living in, for example, Delaware in the US, you're gonna have a certain sales tax that you're going to be paying on the products that you will be selling. If you're living in Colorado in the US, for example, you're gonna have a different sales tax that you will be paying on each product. If you live in Europe, it's no longer called a sales tax, it's called VAT, value added tax. It's basically the same thing as a sales tax, it's usually quite a bit more expensive. So in Sweden, it's around 23%, I believe, for the value added tax. And for example, in Thailand, they also have a value added tax, it's just 7%. So it depends completely on where you live. So with that said, how many taxes you're gonna have in total are going to depend on the country you're from and where you live. But overall, you are going to have income tax on your business for all of the profits you're making. And also, when you withdraw money to you personally, there's going to be another income tax there. And those income taxes will be paid to the government. Then there's also going to be a sales tax. So whenever you sell a product, you're going to pay tax on that product itself. Within the US, it's called a sales tax. Within Europe and a lot of other places in the world, it's called a VAT, value added tax. And how much you're paying on that tax depends on where you live once again. So let's have a quick look in Shopify and see where you can do some customizations, and then I'm gonna recommend some best practices to really make this process much more simple than it sounded just a few minutes ago. Let's dive in. So what we can do at the back end of our store is that we can go down to settings, and then we can go into, here we go, taxes and duties. So there are a couple of different options that we can select here. As you can see right now, we are collecting taxes that's set up for the European Union and the rest of the world. There are also two parts. It also says you are not charging taxes on some product variants. And since I haven't set up anything manually, if I click here, I'm gonna assume that it's gonna be on all of the products. And well, it definitely looks that way. So all I need to do is check these if I want to start adding in the taxes for those products. But what I recommend instead that we do, I'm just gonna leave this page and I'm gonna quickly head back to settings and taxes. What I recommend that we do is that I just keep this check that says all prices include tax. First of all, this is a must do if you get customers that's from the European Union. I believe that only in the US are you allowed to show a price without including the tax. So when it comes to European Union customers, you always need to show the full price with the taxes included. So I'm just gonna keep this check, all price includes tax, and then I'm just not gonna mess this up anymore. You are gonna have to pay taxes on the things that you sell, on your profits, all of that stuff. But if you want to go in and charge people personally the different taxes if they are coming from a certain location, that's going to make your life very, very difficult. What I recommend you do instead is just keep it simple. Make sure that the price that is include taxes already, and realize that the fluctuations might vary a little bit depending on where people are coming from, but it's really not going to matter that much in the end. And if you see that you're not making enough profit, just increase the overall prices. This is by far the easiest way to approach things. The second thing that's going to be super important is that from the very beginning, you want to collect all of the invoices that you get. That is all of the incomes that you're getting, all of the orders, in other words, and all of the expenses you're having. So if I exit settings in here, let's say that you went in and you bought an app. Well, the app itself are going to cost you money. You need to make sure that you grab the invoice for that app and then put it somewhere safe. For example, in a Google Drive, and then call it expenses. So whenever you're having any expenses, grab those invoices, put it in a folder in Google Drive called expenses. And then when people are buying your product, you need to go into orders and export those orders and then put it into a folder called incomes. So you're going to have two folders on Google Drive. So you're going to have incomes and expenses. And what I strongly recommend you do is hire an accountant, because trust me, there is no bigger waste of your time and effort than trying to figure out accounting on your own. It's a huge hassle. I can't give you specific advice because it varies depending on the country you come from. And it's just very time consuming, time that you can put into your store and your marketing and grow your income instead of wasting it on accounting. So when you're making money, the first thing you want to do is put that money into hiring a proper accountant. It's going to be the best money you spend. And that accountant is going to need the folders of incomes and expenses. So set those right from the very beginning and you're going to thank yourself. Again, if you're not making any money, don't stress about this, but do things right from the beginning. When you have an expense, save that invoice into expenses. When you get orders and you get an income, save those invoices from orders into incomes and then hire an accountant. There's no better advice that I can give you than that. Awesome. So not only is your store set up, but you're really getting the legality and the business details set up here too as well. Isn't that exciting? I'll see you in the next lecture.